Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is David Novak. I'm going to read a little bit from Faith by Jimmy Carter. I posted this paragraph on the community tab at YouTube, but I really enjoy this paragraph from early on in the introduction very much, so I thought I would share it with you. The most important element of faith ever imposed on me and on another person simultaneously involved the threat of the total elimination of human life on Earth by a nuclear war with the Soviet Union. My ultimate responsibility as President of the United States was to defend my country against a military attack, and I learned soon after my election that we and the Soviets had enough atomic weapons in our arsenals to destroy each other, and that the resulting radiation and other collateral damage would kill most of the rest of the world's population. This was a constant, haunting realization that dominated my conscious hours during my term in office, and I shared the responsibility with Leonid Brezhnev, President of the Soviet Union. Our common goal, of course, was to avoid a nuclear war. Brezhnev and I had to have faith in ourselves and in each other. Every decision I made was affected by this threat, and it still exists as the same responsibility is passed on from one president to the next. Well, we have a president now who has abdicated that responsibility and, in fact, has done what he can to raise the threat of nuclear catastrophe. He has not only incited Iran to have good motivations for producing the bomb, but he has also incited other nations witness to what they saw he did in attacking Iran to do the same. And whatever kind of common trust Brezhnev and Carter had, even though they were on the opposite ends of an ideological divide, and I was alive at the time, yet he felt that there was a common faith that each man had to have in himself and in the other. I thought that was very interesting. I don't think any world leader now could dare to have that kind of common faith with a President Donald Trump. Nor can we. It's interesting. Carter talks a little bit about the reasons for God and the idea of God versus science. If there is, it's not a topic that is of interest to me, not much at all. But if there is ever any person that one should listen to speaking upon the topic, it would be Jimmy Carter. He knew a thing or two about physics himself, nuclear physics. So I would like to read a poem that Jimmy Carter wrote. His poetry has never particularly inspired me, but we are living at a time I mentioned in a different video where very often most of our public men only care about making money by the grift even, not making money by honorable means even, but by the grift. And it was not always so. And there was a time when statesmen, as well as any educated man or even man who wanted to become educated, would devote himself to poetry. So while Carter's poetry as a thing in itself has never inspired me. The man and his devotion to the art, much as I believe he was a whittler, his devotion to whittling, all of that impresses me. And I think there is value to his poetry, don't get me wrong. So I'm going to read a poem, and the poem takes the voice of his mother. I'll read the paragraph before so you can get the context for it. One of the things that poetry does, and I talked about that a lot in this recent book. Where is it? Sorry, I didn't plan to bring this out, but this is my recent book, Against Fascism. Link in the description box if you would like to buy it. How poetry is an assimilative art, if it's an art, an assimilative craft, and it assimilates materials from diverse sources and sort of fixes them, puts them into a place where they can exist perpetually, possibly, where they can persist through time for the duration. And so what he did is he took a letter written by his mother to them, the children, or her children, and turned it into a poem. And you can fault his prosody, if you will. It's not as well organized as some might like, and so forth. But there is a value to it, and in this form, I think that her sentiments, which she expressed in her letter, will indeed survive longer than the letter itself. There is a presidential library, and I am sure people will have access to his mother's letter, but how much interest will there be going forth? Who can say? But the poem, I believe, stands a better chance. Now, that's obviously not going to be the case for every single original document, and so forth. But so let me just read from Carter talking about his mother, and then the poem. Lillian Gordy Carter. And I am old enough to remember Lillian Carter. He follows this with a little bit of discussion about his brother Billy, and I remember Billy Carter. It's very heartwarming to read his reminiscences about these people who found themselves thrust upon the public stage. Lillian Gordy moved from Richland, Georgia, to nearby Plains in 1922 to become a registered nurse. She married Earl Carter the next year, and they became my parents in October 1924. Lillian first worked at a hospital in Plains and was paid $4 a day for 12 hours on duty, which was a substantial boon to the couple's income. When my father became a farmer with a little more income, Mama began nursing in the homes of our African-American neighbors and took care of others who were poor and needed help. She was supposed to receive $6 for 20-hour duty, but rarely collected full pay during the Great Depression years. After Daddy's death in 1953, Mama was house mother of a fraternity at Auburn University for 7 years, then managed a nursing home until she got tired of being around old folks and joined the Peace Corps at the age of 68. She nursed in a clinic in Vikhroli, India, a village owned by the wealthy Godrej family. I wrote a poem based on one of her letters to us children. Miss Lillian sees leprosy for the first time. When I nursed in a clinic near Bombay, a small girl, shielding all her leprous sores, crept inside the door. I moved away, but then the doctor said, "You take this case." First, I found a mask and put it on, quickly gave the child a shot, and then, not well, I slipped away to be alone and scrubbed my entire body red and raw. I faced her treatment every week with dread and loathing, for the chore, not the child. As time passed, I was less afraid and managed not to turn my face away. Her spirit bloomed as sores began to fade. She'd raise her anxious, searching eyes to mine to show she trusted me. We'd smile and say a few Marathi words, then reach and hold each other's hands. And then love grew between us so that when I kissed her lips, I didn't feel unclean. A marvelous anecdote captured in verse form. Now, as I say, as a poet with a lifetime's experience behind me, I could go and dissect that and tell what I don't like about it and so forth. But I have a video elsewhere where I talk about the poem, The Tay Bridge Disaster. I think, and I have a video reading a lovely essay by Michael Ventura about poetry. And all poetry is of a piece. The greatest sonnets of William Shakespeare and the most ill-formed, haphazard jotting by Allen Ginsberg, let us say. It's all of a piece, and the best depends on the worst, just as the worst depends on the best. So I'm not reading this book through. I am glancing in and out of it, and if I come across more, I will share it with you. Thank you for stopping by my channel. And by the way, it's time to take action against the forces of evil.